Heyo, welcome to here. We're on Massive Loop Metaverse, and I thought we'd talk about something a little different this time. This video is mostly discussion. There's very little visual candy outside of the beautiful landscapes or backgrounds present behind me, like the teddy bear or the arts. Now, originally this video was going to have a guest that took up a much longer runtime than they're actually going to end up taking, and they will show up again in a different video in the future, but I had to rewrite and revise a lot of it. So this video subject matter is largely centered around my personal experiences and how VR changed my life. It's a very raw and passionate episode, but I originally discovered virtual reality back in 2016. But I didn't actually own a VR headset until early 2018 when I got the HTC Vive for my 17th birthday. It's been about 7 years since I first started exploring the virtual realm through the eyes of a VR headset anyway. And in that time, it helped me develop as a person in ways that I can't reasonably put into words. The relationships and skills that I've made, all of the incredible creations and worlds that I've been able to witness firsthand, there quite literally been endless experiences and worlds, a realm where you can be whoever or whatever you want. I've seen VR be used in every way imaginable, really, and its uses are quite literally endless. In this video, we're going to talk about some of my personal experiences, how virtual reality changed my life, how I've seen virtual reality impact other people, and the real-world skills and in some cases, jobs that people I've known now have because of the impact VR had on them. And we're gonna have a special guest who I'd like to bring into more videos in the future, like I mentioned. I think one of the most impactful aspects of virtual reality that I've seen is the relationships people have built through it by online dating. You can use VR and Massive Loop for long distance dating in ways that I would have never thought possible or could have imagined. But with all that out in the air, let's start this off by talking about where we are. We're on Massive Loop Metaverse. We've made many videos about this social VR platform, but whether you have a VR headset or just a computer that can run most games, you can hop on and experience the worlds behind me, or maybe some of what we're discussing yourself. All of the relevant information is linked in the YouTube description for Massive Loop. But TLDR, Massive Loop is a social VR platform where you can explore countless worlds, try out servers which offer unique experiences to players, and provide full control over that realm to its creators. Whether that be a community, or a company, or even an insanely OP user who makes dope stuff, all while being any kind of avatar you can think of, you can experience Massive Loop in VR or desktop, and the experiences, worlds, and ways to express yourself are only limited by your imagination. The things I've seen on here are awesome, man. The worlds, the creations, it's incredible. Virtual reality's uses and real-world applications amaze me. Like, I've seen people use VR for both professional and at-home therapy. It's wild. Being able to safely confront your fears or trauma in a virtual space is a breakthrough in medical science that isn't used or appreciated enough. I mean, exposure therapy is something I've seen quite a lot over the years. People confronting normal fears like arachnophobia, social anxiety, climbing, flying in planes, heights, cramped spaces, what else? Crowds, clowns. Whatever normal fear you can think of, I've probably seen at least one person use VR to tackle and overcome those fears gradually. Trauma is harder to talk about, mental illnesses too. These are fields that can benefit heavily from exposure therapy or, to the usage of virtual reality, but those subjects need way more detail than I could reasonably say here. Now let's talk about real-world applications from what I've and other people have learned from virtual reality. I know 9 people who work in this industry that started as players. That ranges from people who write code for major game developers to animators, artists, network and UI devs, security and IT admins, web contractors, clothing designers, VR equipment developers and producers. That's just for the VR industry. It's not even talking about the countless avatar, world, script, or asset creators. From people who design and create shoes, clothes, weapons, cars, I almost said Banes, planes, boats, houses, games. There's even not safe for work and 18 plus creators and creations out there. It's virtually limitless what you're able to do. Your skills and talents can shine through in so many different ways. You can apply so many countless real-world skills and knowledge to VR. It goes both ways so fluently. You could DJ or have a music festival. Want to visit a club or a bar? Feel like having a virtual drink with the homies? What about something drastically different? Want to learn about dinosaurs? Feel like taking your class to a museum? Want to explore Oklahoma? How about a relaxing walk through a lively forest or a nighttime stroll through the endless, glistening white petals of a flower field? Massive Loop lets you do all that, and way more, which is one of the reasons I like talking about and promoting it so much. Outside of the online or virtual sphere, in terms of job or skill applications, I know people who are now EMTs and cops because of the people they met and experiences they had while playing in VR. Isn't that incredible? I've had the pleasure of knowing countless people who joined their respective militaries, from US Marines, naval engineers, to tank and helicopter mechanics, to the motherfuckers maintaining America's nukes. I've seen so many people who turned their life, or, well, went miles above and beyond because VR helped teach them countless skills. Something that I always found rather interesting: I've seen a lot of people who hosted or coordinated VR events get jobs in management positions. It's a weird little tidbit. But virtual reality really does help make things easier generally, especially when it comes to easily and comfortably learning new things, and, well, interacting with other people especially. I can think of a few bartenders and coffee hosts too. Coffee isn't cafe, but plenty of small-time comedians, streamers, and YouTubers too. Met so many over the years that have turned their small niche or what they love doing into a full-blown career. And with the added side of roleplay being so common in the virtual realm, you can find like-minded people and new interests rather easily. So let's talk about my wacky existence for a bit. Hi, I'm Blaze. That's my real and legal first name. I'll be 23 in less than a month. Like I said at the start, I've been around VR for nearly a decade at this point. I originally wanted a way to connect with other people. I had crippling anxiety and a fear of basic social interactions, among other things, but since I was homeschooled my entire life, at that time anyway, most of my human interaction came from playing games or talking to people online, like friends on TeamSpeak or Skype. I rarely interacted with people outside of my family, and I wasn't really taught any social skills or knew how to interact with other people. If it wasn't for the people that I met or the experiences that we shared, I wouldn't have developed the social skills or knowledge that I have today. The early days of VR weren't the most advanced or beautiful when compared to something like Massive Loop, but there are countless ways to experience the seemingly new technology at the time. God, there were so many weird and... I started off as a mute, not talking to anyone, and mostly playing single-player experiences. Single-player games. But as I explored more places, met more people, I started talking to people. I slowly started to make and have friends, make memories. It snowballed, and my personality grew. I learned an insane amount of new concepts, emotions, became less daunting overall to understand or confront. Other people weren't scary or gave me anxiety attacks just for existing nearby. I wouldn't be as mature or emotionally stable if it wasn't for the outlet that I've been able to experience and utilize in the form of virtual reality. I wouldn't have learned all about the different cultures of our world and the virtual realm. The things that I've experienced shaped who I am today, and without everyone I met, all of the moments we shared and the stories that were made, I wouldn't be where I am today. As it stands, I taught myself basic human interaction, basic human emotions, social skills, and how to empathize with others. I had to learn the basic functions of living in a society. What was appropriate and what wasn't, both socially and for myself. I learned about personal boundaries, expectations, how to adjust and adapt, most of the things that make you a functional human, both from a society and self-efficient standpoint. I either was taught it or learned in some respect for virtual reality, whether it was from the people I met in this realm. It's how I learned to exist, where I make most of my friends. It's the home and birthplace of so many things I love and adore. Now, I have Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of high-functioning autism, and unspecified bipolar, which means my symptoms don't necessarily fit into the diagnostic categories, usually attached like cycling or bipolar type 1 or 2. But without a support system that had a grasp or understanding of mental health growing up, as I entered my teens, especially mid to late teens, I wasn't prepared for the real world. I didn't have any skills or knew anything. I didn't like learning through homeschooling, and I wasn't able to effectively learn anything meaningful. I had to teach myself pretty much everything I know that wasn't learned from the few friends I had. But being exposed to VR showed me countless avenues to solve problems, so many new ways to look at situations and learn in ways that really worked for me. I learned to enjoy math instead of, hating it, because I could use a 3D virtual space and the tools provided to make the experience easier or fun. Same with chess. I used to hate the idea of playing chess because of how scary and confusing it was. Having to think several steps ahead of your opponent when I could barely remember to eat breakfast was daunting. But I overcame the fears associated. I slowly exposed myself using VR, playing against bots, then players, and eventually in a couple of VR chess tournaments, which I lost. We don't talk about that. It allowed me to face my fears at a comfortable pace, and I was able to overcome obstacles that I probably would have kept shy away from that I probably would have kept shied away from. The way that I write is weird, because of virtual reality, both in terms of education and daily life, if I didn't have those tools or resources, if I didn't have that exposure, I wouldn't be who I am. Being able to interact with other people in a virtual space as if there was, it was actually crucial for my development, since I didn't have that kind of thing in real life. I was able to become my own person at my own pace. And I read books now. I enjoy science and studying other cultures. I have countless hobbies and interests. Granted, struggling with the mental illnesses I have, it's a challenge still, but I wouldn't have come this far as a person if it wasn't for the influence that virtual reality has had on me. It's helped me not only grow and develop as a person, but I've been able to use many of the skills and things that I learned in real life jobs. I don't think I could have navigated selling phones to people or handling several thousand packages a day if it wasn't for what I learned over the years from VR, as weird as that may sound. Coping mechanisms, how to navigate situations and adapt, right from wrong, when to stand up for myself. I quite literally learned how to be a person largely because of virtual reality. Having been, an avid user of virtual reality for a while, I eventually created my own community, which eventually turned into multiple communities, and now there's 4 of them. Creating an organization centered around roleplay, creation, playing games, and having fun while making friends. I've created countless worlds, avatars, hosted thousands of events, and spearheaded probably upwards of 100 projects relating to our communities at this point. From virtual creations to real-world tangible objects, like clothes or stickers, we have experiences in fields that I would have never imagined possible. Like, seriously, who expects a nerd like me to know half the shit that I do? Honestly, I've had the pleasure of meeting, befriending, or working with thousands of people over the past 7 years. From hanging out and playing games with countless new friends, to meeting and working with the people that make the games, platforms, and media that I enjoy. The sheer amount of things that I've learned and have been able to experience is incredible. The amount of people I've met or shared precious memories with is more than I could really have ever imagined. And this is coming from someone who's autistic and bipolar. If I can achieve these things with time and effort, and, well, really with a little bit more than some time and effort sprinkled in, you can too. Anything's possible. And I want you to believe in yourself. Whatever problems you might have, whatever mental illnesses or struggles you face, never give up and keep trying. I've reached the breaking point more times than I can remember, but you determine your fate. There's always better somewhere out there. And for me, it was largely virtual reality and the friends or experiences based in it. Wow, that was kind of a lot, I'm not gonna lie. I really do feel that VR is a great space for people with autism, or really most mental illnesses. Same goes for most groups or ideals that need safe and controlled spaces. Especially with things like Massive Loop server system, imagine a dedicated server to teaching sign language, or a server for exposure therapy to different triggers. It's one of the reasons I love that feature so much. It's just there, waiting for the right people to use it, for something like the either mentioned idea. But we should probably move on to our next topic. Let's talk about online or long distance dating, using virtual reality and Massive Loop. Dating in virtual reality is just, man, you can't compare it to using something like Skype or IMVU. Or, well, I guess SL too. Being able to be whoever you want, whatever you want, whether that's a normal human being, a furry creature like me, an anime character, or one of the other countless styles of creation, it opens up endless possibilities for self-expression. Like, look at me. I'm a Nanachi mixed with like a cat, bear, and a hapu. Besides being whatever or whoever I want, I can freely express myself, incredibly close to real life, especially since normally I have full body tracking. On Massive Loop, I can move my arms, legs, hips, and head with very realistic movements, which allow me, and, well, everyone else, to physically express themselves too. Walking around in my real room, moving in VR is just fucking cool, man. I can, hug other people. I can hold other people. I can hold my partner's hand. I can give a high five or fall to the floor like a brick. Crumples. I don't want to break my headset. I already broke a controller filming this. But yeah, you can fall into a pile of polygons if you want. It's funny. You can cuddle up and watch a YouTube video or a TV show, hell, even a movie. But my girlfriend and I used to go on dates and fall asleep together in VR. We'd explore new worlds, play games together, find unique and interesting places in general that we could have fun, fall asleep together in. I've gone to virtual nightclubs, music festivals, game tournaments, and countless various events with partners before. Same for mundane stuff like a trip to the movies or a park. When you can't actually be together, having somewhere like Massive Loop is pretty incredible. Being able to actually maintain and grow a relationship because of virtual reality is a mind-blowing concept. That is more than possible. It's becoming extremely common these days. Using Massive Loop, you can go to places and do things with your partner or friends. Watch a show or movie while snuggled up in bed. Pat their head or give them a hug. You can play games or make friends, experience unimaginable worlds at the click of a few buttons. If you can't be with someone in person, virtual reality is the next best thing you could hope for. And honestly, it's a great time to be long distance dating. At no other time in our existence have we been able to connect so effortlessly. We're able to do and experience so many real world things in VR. It's beyond words. And when I say that, it's a multi-faced statement, but You can even have sex and fulfill your fantasies, assuming you have the right equipment, like a Levin's pleasure toy. I fucked that word up. I got a little flustered. But heck, I've even attended a legally binding wedding that was held in virtual reality. And I've been the officiant at several non-legally binding weddings, since I am legally ordained in California and have done the ceremony before. But everything you can do in real life, there's a version of it for VR. From exercising in virtual gyms, to roller coasters, flying planes, to shooting guns and playing on arcade machines. If you can do it in real life, odds are you can also do it in virtual reality or make it possible for others to do. And I met my future wife almost 2 years ago. We were both just wandering the virtual realm. I at that time was extremely outgoing and had a group of people around me. I saw her hanging out, and almost as if she wanted to join in the situation but wasn't sure. We were all just talking, and I thought I'd try to include her, since it seemed like she kind of wanted to interact but was too shy. She didn't speak for a bit, but eventually, she got comfortable, and after a while, it was just her and I hanging out. And she wanted to explore somewhere new. So we went to a different world together and skipped rocks off of a pond. We added each other on Discord after hanging out a few times together. And we just kept hanging out, doing different, new and fun things together. We decided to get together pretty quickly. I asked her if she'd be my girlfriend in front of my community during one of our events. And from that point forward, we went on virtual dates, watched movies, TV shows, and cuddled pretty much every day. If we weren't sleeping together, snuggled up while in VR, thousands of miles away from each other, we were playing games, learning more about each other, and falling deeper in love. We even had our own mock wedding in virtual reality. We've attended numerous functions and events together. If it wasn't for virtual reality, I wouldn't have been able to give her a hug or skip stones with her early on. We wouldn't have had as many outlets to explore and expand our relationship. My girlfriend, most of you know her as Faye. We live together now. We have 2 dogs, a cat, and an apartment together. I get to wake up to her every morning in real life instead of in virtual reality. We went from living thousands of miles away to spending every day side by side. I saved up some money, packed all of my stuff, gave my family not even a week's warning, and drove across the United States. I wanted to take her on real dates, to experience the world together in ways that the virtual world hasn't caught up to yet. We both want to start a family and, get married. It was by far the biggest decision I've ever made, and by far the scariest thing I've ever done. There were so many unknowns, and it was genuinely terrifying. But I got through it, and I'm here now, with her and the family that we're slowly building together. I'd never driven that far. I had never lived with a partner before. Never had moved away from family, whether that was my parents or grandma's. No one expected it. None of my family or friends knew it's what I wanted, or that I'd worked everything out so it was possible. I had just enough money to last me a couple of months at an absolute best, but I was dead set on it. I knew that she was the one, and in the end, everything was worth it. We might get a little spicy with each other sometimes, and adult life might be a new set of challenges, but we're in this together, side by side. Finally together after having spent so much time together in virtual reality. I've seen similar stories to mine play out more times than I can reasonably recite. Love truly transcends the boundaries of time and space, as Dr. Brand from Interstellar theorized. I love that movie. People from every walk of life, every culture you could imagine. This technology allows people to form connections and bonds unlike anything we as a species has had up until this point. if we can fall in or maintain our love across such vast distances without a truly physical component, being able to experience so much together while so far apart, it's a marvel of the modern world. But now for our special guest. Like I mentioned, I had planned on having her be a very big portion of this video, but we ran into a lot of production issues. But anyway, here's a video of her and I, along with some pictures of our pets. But before we move on, remember, there are countless ways you can spend time or experience new things with your partner in Massive Loop. Everything I've talked about in regards to relationships, skills, and learning, they're all possible here. It's a safe and positive environment. It's a platform with endless room to grow and explore, to be able to interact with so many other people. Massive Loop is incredible. And to be able to do everything, or at least a lot of what I've mentioned, to have that human connection across such distances it's fucking magical.
I don't have a drum mag, unfortunately, but probably got another.
I know this video isn't exactly like my usual content, and it's way more vocal than I expected, but it came from the heart, and it shows anyone can do anything. No matter their personal struggles, you yourself matter. And it might be rough or take a while, but in the end, things will always get better. And dare I say, there is someone out there that you'll eventually get to call your person. Whether that's a boyfriend or a girlfriend, heck, you might be with them right now, or know them already. But virtual reality isn't just an escape or a game. You can use it to do countless different things, from real-world activities to games and out-of-this-world experiences. Dude, Massive Loop Metaverse enables you to do so much. There's no reason you shouldn't try it out. The virtual realm is endless, and what you're able to do in it doesn't compare to how crazy and wild you may think the real world is. But the worlds and experiences, the places are beyond imagination. They're beautiful, they're fun. It's incredible. But while saying that, I think we should end it here. Thanks for watching, everyone. The next video will have way more to keep everyone engaged in terms of editing, but I hope y'all like the new intro and the video itself. Now, it was an adventure in terms of production, but I really do love how it turned out, and hopefully you guys did too. But, well, bye everyone. I'll see you next time, or hopefully at one of the next events like Happy Hour or Trivia.